say, every week, and there's so many of them. There's and
hundreds.
Shayne and I both really enjoyed a little bit of bourbon once in a while, and I don't think we pound it quite like we did when we were younger. We do a little bit of sipping now, and very enjoyable for us. And he's become quite a connoisseur of various bourbons, and so I'm learning as we go.
Thank you, sir.
I can add a little input from my experiences of drinking bourbon. Last episode I mentioned that I was in Louisville, Kentucky, and we're at a restaurant that
Kentucky, the home of American bourbon.
And I think the restaurant was called Bourbons.
Okay.
And they had a whole menu with dozens of bourbons on it. And I don't remember the price. I should get online and, or maybe you can find that online. We have a guy that just runs the stats for us.
Kyle, yeah.
Killer Kyle. And maybe I'm correct. It's called Bourbons. And if we can pull up that menu, it is amazing. I know that the most expensive one, and I usually say this wrong, something to do with Rumpelstiltskin. Help me out.
Are you thinking Van Winkle?
Van Winkle.
Pappy
yes.
Van Winkle.
Pappy Van Winkle.
And we'll
it's supposed to be the best of the best.
So it is, yeah. The Pappy 23 is sort of like I don't want to call it the unicorn, but it's the top of the food chain when it comes to American bourbons.
Right.
It also starts at about $2,500 a bottle.
Yeah.
And goes up from there.
I know we sampled something called Angel's Revenge.
Yep.
Oh.
Angel's Envy.
Angel's Envy, yeah.
Angel's Envy, yeah.
Yeah.
So
it's a good thing you're here because I'm starting out poorly today. I'm not.
We got you, man.
We're mispronouncing everything.
So Pappy comes from the Buffalo Trace Distillery.
Right.
And they've got several brands, and I'm a big fan of most of them. But Pappy, as you mentioned, is the premium that they've got.
You got it.
So the thing with Jack Daniels is because it's made in Tennessee, Tennessee has a law that says bourbons have to be filtered through charcoal.
Right.
Which is why Jack Daniels is widely known to have sort of that charcoal flavor. Yep. But it's actually maple charcoal that they filter it through.
Okay.
And so that's what not only gives it a little bit darker amber look than most bourbons or whiskeys. They don't like to be called a bourbon because it's sour mash.
Right, right.
So we'll just say whiskey. It's got a little bit darker amber to it than your typical whiskey.
Yeah.
But you can also pick up some of those maple notes in there, especially as you go to their Gentleman Jack and single barrels.
You know, I look forward to the time when we start talking about the burnt barrels.
Yeah.
And the history of them. And I know some of the wineries in Europe are buying Jack Daniels barrels and they're aging their wine.
Amazing.
In burnt barrels that they already aged Jack Daniels in. What a great idea.
Yeah.
Man.
It's a very cool thing to see that, crossover like that from whiskey to wine.
Well, we have a wonderful guest here today, ladies and gentlemen. Good friend of mine.
He's not here yet.
Not quite here yet, but he'll be here, and we're going to talk about a couple other things. Before he gets here, Jimmy Rauscher, lifelong friend of mine, pretty much a lifelong friend of mine, and he and his brother own the sporting goods store Joe's Sporting Goods, and we're going to have a lot of fun with Jimmy. But before he gets here, let's talk about the upcoming and very exciting 40-year anniversary of the Rowdy Cowboy Show.
Yes, sir. So it was supposed to be last year, right?
Right.
Last year was technically the 40.
But we had the COVID issue, and that put a halt on that. So we're going to do it this year. We're still going to call it the 40-year anniversary.
Right.
It's somewhere thereabouts. I guess we started the Rowdy Cowboy Show in 1979, so you figure it out. It's a little more than 40 years, but we're going to do a live podcast that day. We're going to have a pile of disc jockeys on.
A dozen confirmed so far.
Both radio and club disc jockeys and old Rowdy Cowboy Show disc jockeys.
These are all people that have worked with the Rowdy Cowboy Show over years.
So that's going to be fun. I mean, it's going to be an all-day event, and we have WeFest tickets to give away. For those of you that aren't aware,
this is like breaking news. We need like a sounder.
Yeah, for those of you that have been a little bit disappointed about the WeFest in past years, the people that bought it from us 8 years ago sold it back to, I don't want to say us, but people that we've worked with for many, many years.
Local.
One of our landlords, Matt Methune,
yeah,
and his father, Ray Methune. And not Sound Nation, Live Nation.
Yeah.
And anyway, I'm going to be back this year and next year for sure, and be co-hosting with Kelly Pickler. And
People know who Kelly Pickler is.
you know, I would think so. Red High Heel Shoes was her big hit. She's crazy. She's a lot of fun. I remember her performing at the Wee Fest, and she was like, holy cow, you had to keep your eyes on her. You didn't know what she was going to do next. But anyway, now that the Wee Fest is back in Minnesota hands, the sponsorship, the employees, the staffing.
All the relationships.
Oh, yeah, all the relationships. It's going to be great this year, but I guarantee you next year we're going to start sending that back up. And I'll give you a couple numbers. 8 years ago, the last show we did in 2016, I think that's 8 years ago, we had more than 60,000 people a day for 5 days. The last show that they did with the Wee Fest, they had less than 15,000 for 3 days. So
it's a 75% decrease.
Yeah, however you want to phrase it, it just wasn't happening, and now it's going to happen again. We know how to get it going again.
Yes,
and
you do.
We're going to have box seat tickets. We're going to have reserved seat tickets. We're going to have general admission tickets to give away on the 31st, right? 31st.
Yeah, Saturday, July 31st here at the
Right.
Hoggsbreath.
So if you're within earshot of me, make it a point to be here, especially any of our old rowdy cowboy friends. They were a bunch, weren't they, over the years?
Always have been. And it doesn't even matter what generation it is. It seems like we get, the best of the best with those fan bases every time.
I know in our last episode we were talking about the infamous Hoggsbreath Moron Tabernacle Choir.
Wait, Danny, you said we found that photo, right? Can we throw that up now?
Oh, man, there are dozens of those guys and girls that used to do a little swinging with John Anderson. Oh, that was fun days.
The fact that you went so far as to have actual apparel made, I mean, that speaks volumes for how dedicated the bit was. Let's see if we can get the picture up here. I know Killer Kyle's working on it.
I'm looking at a monitor that's got a bright light in it, so I can't really see. But it'll be a fun day, ladies and gentlemen. July 31st.
Yeah, let's go over just a few of the details quick, TK.
We're going to start the podcast at what time?
So the podcast starts at 7.
Or 6.
7.
Okay.
And we'll run podcast 7 to 8:30.
Okay.
We just run 90 minutes straight with the podcast, no break on that show.
Okay.
And we'll be rotating our guests through the hot seat, as we call it.
Okay.
They'll have all those people coming in, sitting and sharing stories about Rowdy Cowboy Show and its history. And then the party itself will start at 9.
Boy, I better get in shape for that one. Holy cow.
Here we go. Here's your Moron Tabernacle Choir.
Oh, there they are. There they are. If you're...
Who's that guy out in front leading the dance there?
Well, I remember that picture, and forgive me for turning around.
Yeah, you're good. You know who that guy is.
I have polarized glasses on. I have a neurological issue with my eyes, so I have to wear these. But it's funny, I can't see that screen with these on. So, yeah, that was me.
That's you.
I had a pink shirt underneath that, and we were all doing the swinging. That was a fun deal, and I'm telling you, John Anderson loved coming to the Wee Fest, and we talked about this in the last podcast.
Share the story, though. I love the story.
3 artists, John Anderson, Sawyer Brown, and the Nitty Gritty Dirt Band.
You haven't been drinking.
I know. Maybe it's too early for me. Both of those, all 3 of those artists were at the Wee Fest 10 times. And I'm telling you, John Anderson, that was his favorite gig anywhere in the world, because everyone would get up on stage. It started out, we were just in front of the stage swinging, doing it. It's a whole routine. I'm sorry.
That's what's shown in the photo there.
Yeah, show up on the 31st, and we'll show you that whole routine. And then it evolved to literally almost, give or take, 100 people on the stage with John Anderson and his band doing the swing, and he could barely get the song out because he'd be laughing so hard. He had so much fun. Just one of the little many tidbits of fun things that happened at the Wee Fest.
So we're hoping that the night of the reunion, TK, that we can blow the dust off all those great classic synonymous Rowdy Cowboy Show elements.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we'll try and do as much as we can and celebrate some birthdays and maybe do a contest. And
we had a great continuation when KG and I came in and you retired.
Yep.
Of that Hank Williams Jr. set.
Oh, yeah.
And we ran that thing, Drinking My Baby Goodbye and Family Tradition, and so we ran that thing pretty much every show because there were dances, choreographed stuff for those songs, and they went from your generation to our generation seamlessly.
And, yeah, you couldn't get away with them not doing it.
Right.
I mean,
fans would be upset.
It's funny, the people that worked here and the other clubs where I did the show and close friends, they say, what do you do? Just press go and then take a break? And it was never like that. I was always playing music, but they heard, because they were here so often, they heard the same songs quite a bit.
Yeah.
And then they graduated as the years went by. But I felt, all those years, I felt like Rodney Dangerfield. If I didn't tell those same jokes, they would be mad. You know, they wanted to hear that stuff.
It's a famous movie line that said if you went out to see the Rolling Stones and they didn't play Satisfaction, people would burn that stadium to the ground.
Right.
You know, so you had that same kind of thing where people came to the show with an expectation that they were going to get to see and hear certain things.
You know, it's fun to reminisce about that show because now that I'm older and I think about it, it's like I can't even believe, I don't know what this place holds, but there was certainly more than 1,000 people in here for more than 30 years.
Pre-fire code restriction.
And there was always a line out the door and around the corner, like maybe a half a block long, 4 abreast. And it just kills me that. And the adjoining parking lots would be full of orange buses. The college students would come from Bemidji. They'd come from Stoughton, Wisconsin, River Falls. They'd come from Mankato, certainly the University of Minnesota. A lot of the sports figures, especially the hockey players, this was their home. They'd bring the 2 years in a row, the Gopher hockey team won the national title, and they brought it up on stage at the Wii Fest. And Mark Barr was one of their coaches, and he's a really great friend of mine. The next day after the Wii Fest, Tomcat, he says, where the hell is the trophy, the national trophy? He said, I don't know. I said, I'm working, I'm doing the Wii Fest. Well, we can't find the damn trophy. And I said, I'm kind of busy. And so he called me back. Well, we found it. It was buried in the back seat of one of the guy's trucks.
Oh.
They couldn't find the darn trophy for the national
championship trophy.
You know? Yeah, they would bring that in. And, you know, one year the Gopher wrestling team, they brought in their national title as well. They brought in the trophy. So it's kind of cool that all the people, all the University of Minnesota, the sports figure, this was their home on Monday night.
Yeah.
And my goodness, I got to know all those hockey players from like the 70s through the 80s, the 90s, 2000s. Oh my goodness. Godfather of some of their kids and watching them grow up.
Yeah.
And me not growing up, them growing up and me not.
Well, it's funny to me because you weren't really a hockey guy growing up. You're a baseball guy.
Well, I wasn't big, but I was a big hockey guy. I played hockey all my life.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah. I wasn't that good, but I loved it. I mean, there was a time, like end of grade school, beginning of high school, where I was really good, but not as good as some of the rest of the guys.
Yeah.
But I had fun. I don't, like everything in life with me, I don't care if I'm great at it or just as long as it's fun to me.
Yeah.
Oh, man, I loved hockey, but I certainly loved baseball as well. So, they didn't conflict with each other. Hockey was in the winter, baseball in the spring. So it worked out well for me.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I want to just hit the highlights here really quick before we move too much further into the conversation. So Saturday, July 31st, here at the Hoggsbreath.
Yep.
The Rowdy Cowboy Show 40th anniversary reunion party.
Yep. That's going to be a blowout.
Also,
Let me interrupt you.
Sorry, go ahead.
The last time we did it was on a Monday night because, ladies and gentlemen, the Rowdy Cowboy Show, believe it or not, was always on a Monday night, typically the worst night of the week. And those hundreds and hundreds of people would always show up on a Monday night, which always amazed me.
Yeah.
But this reunion is going to be on a Saturday night.
Yeah.
When everyone doesn't have to work in the morning and more people can show up.
And let their hair down.
Like the old days.
Yeah, I don't think either of us are going to be letting any hair down. I don't have much hair to let down anymore.
True. I don't have any witty comment to add to that.
I will do it for both of you.
Thank you, Kyle.
Thank you, Kyle.
Thank you, yeah. You need to. He's got enough for the both of us.
Yeah.
So Saturday, July 31st here at the Hoggsbreath, and we're also, as you mentioned, sort of like subtly, as we slipped it in there, the breaking news that it will be a WeFest kickoff party.
Yep.
In addition to being the reunion show for Rowdy Cowboy Show.
Yep.
And we will be giving away, remind them again, some tickets, but what are we giving away?
Giving away half a dozen pairs of general admission.
Yep.
A reserved seat, a pair of reserved seats, and a pair of box seats.
And the box seats are the ones that are like right on the stage,
and
right?
We're going to have some WeFest swag.
Oh, fantastic.
Shirts and hats, and it'll be a fun deal. And,
yeah.
You know, this was the place for the WeFest kickoff party. Hundreds of people. I mean, the Hoggsbreath, believe it or not, was one of the reasons the WeFest was so successful. Mm-hmm. Everybody, hundreds and hundreds of people. And when they got to Detroit Lakes, they kind of taught everyone else how to party. And you know, I'm not exaggerating.
No, I have been
deal.
to a WeFest or two in my day.
So whether you want to come for the WeFest kickoff party or our 40-year reunion show, it's going to be a big day, I'm so looking forward to that. It's going to be the highlight of the summer.
Yeah, we want to encourage people to get here early. I mean, we start filming the podcast at 7, but we will be here setting up probably by 5 or maybe even a little earlier.
Right.
And so if you're going to get a decent seat, not only for the podcast, but for the show or the party itself, you can't be rolling in here that night at 8:40 and think you're going to have somewhere to plant your tuchus, because there ain't going to be any spots for tuchuses that night. It's going to be packed.
Yeah, it is.
The last party that we had, you mentioned, last reunion show we had.
Yeah, it was on a Monday night.
Handful of years ago, and that was nuts to butts.
It was crazy packed, and that was a Monday night. So we figured there's a lot of people that have grown up to be about my age, maybe not quite that old, but they're going to need a little. They're not going to go out on a Monday night. They're like, But Saturday night, I think we'll see some great old friends.
How old are you, Tomcat?
I'm not saying.
TK has an autographed version of the Bible.
Now that's funny.
To my friend Tomcat, Jesus.
No, to my rowdy friend Tom.
Rowdy friend, yeah. He would have definitely called you rowdy.
I kind of gave away my age the other day when we were talking about the very first concert we ever went to. The first two concerts, which were in the same summer I went to, was Three Dog Night and then Led Zeppelin.
Sure.
But I was in the parking lot when the Beatles were playing at Met Stadium.
Yeah.
And couldn't hear any music out there. All you heard was everybody was screaming. We thought everyone was getting killed.
Pretty much anyone under the age of 40, when you say Met Stadium, they're like, the what?
Yeah, Metropolitan Stadium.
Yeah. Bloomington, right? Right where the Mall of America is now.
Exactly. There's a spot in Mall of America where the old home plate is. It's still in the exact same spot. And I guess I haven't been there for so long, I don't remember where that is. But I remember watching Bob Allison and Harmon Killebrew, Earl Batty, Zoilo Versales. You don't know any of these names, do you?
I know Killebrew. Everyone knows the Killer. I know Rod Carew.
Yeah, Tony Oliva.
Tony, I actually met Tony Oliva not that long ago.
Cool.
Yeah, there was a good friend of mine locally, Chris Seebeck, who is in like 4 different projects, but one of his groups that he has is called The World According to Garth. And it's a Garth Brooks tribute act. And when he puts the hat and the like headset microphone on and the shirt and the guitar, he looks a lot like Garth.
I'd like to see that act.
So when he does this show, and it's usually just a couple of times a year, it is, we talked about nuts to butts, you can't even get into some of these clubs, it's so packed.
Right.
So one night they were playing Doghouse, and as suspected, it was just, busier than whatever, get out. And I come walking in, and sure enough, who walks right past me with about 3 other guys? Tony O.
Oh, cool.
He was there to see
a great guy.
A country music act. And they had saved him like a little table area that was side stage, and, he's Tony Oliva.
Earl Batty was the Minnesota Twins' first catcher.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And he lived in the same neighborhood that I lived in.
Okay.
Midway, Lexington, Selby area.
Okay.
Actually, he lived right on Lexington and Selby.
Midway, boy, that's changed a lot.
Oh, man. Well, I see that our guest has showed up.
He has. He's checking in on his media right now, so we'll give him a few more minutes.
And,
so night of the show, let's dig into that a little bit more.
Night of the show.
Yeah, so WeFest kickoff party, giving away tickets.
Swag.
Podcast before, right?
Yep,
and we'll have, us, obviously, and then we'll have about a dozen Rowdy Cowboy Show DJs and MCs from over the years.
And a couple of radio disc jockeys.
Radio people.
I think I'm going to persuade Neil from Bob to show up.
Yeah, Neil Freeman.
He usually does.
Love to have him.
Yep.
In addition to which, we will be doing our level-headed best, right, TK, to make sure that we hit all those favorite dances that people remember, like swinging and the, as aforementioned, the Bocephus stuff.
Yeah.
But we also, I don't want to let you get off the hook here, you have to, at some point in the night, host a contest.
Oh, yeah. We'll do that.
Has to be.
Absolutely.
Frozen lime or something.
Yep. I'm still thinking about disc jockeys. We have, you and I both, we've been disc jockeys for forever.
Long time.
I'm thinking John Hines had a lot to do with the WeFest, for many, many years. I'm going to call John Hines, and I bet you he'll come. And who's the other one we were talking about?
Neil Freeman?
No, our friend, Lynn. Larry Brenner's coming for sure. Larry Brenner owns Vino in the Valley in Wisconsin. Look it up on look it up on the internet. It's amazing. No, it was with KS95. We partied with him.
Put her on the spot.
Greg Thunder. Boy, my memory sucks.
It's a good thing you have Lynn, I will tell you what.
I'm telling you. We're going to have Lynn on a show someday so everyone can see what holds me up. Jimmy, good to see you, man.
It was a funny thing I was saying earlier. I was like, Tom just needs to walk around 24 hours a day, 7 days a week with an earbud in and you just talking in his ear.
Yeah, like at the WeFest.
Right.
She was the stage producer, and I didn't have to figure it out so much. She always told me what to do.
Yeah.
Sometimes very excitedly.
I feel like there's a story there, but we'll save it for when we have her on.
Yeah.
Yeah, fantastic.
Let's take a break and get our guest up here. And is that what we're doing?
Yeah, we can do that. Yeah, I was just checking with Danny. Can we, take a little mini break here? So we'll take a little bit mini break from our live broadcast. We're not at our typical hour mark, but we'll do that so we can get Jimmy in and get the conversation
we'll
rolling with him.
half hours with him.
Yeah, for sure. I'm looking forward to it. So, folks, stick around. Coming up right after the break, we will have Jimmy Rauscher in to talk with us, and Tom will give him a proper intro on the other side of the break. But we don't gotta pay the bills here. That's Tommy DeRay's job.
No, we're just going to break for a couple minutes.
Yeah, we'll be right back.
All right.
Boots and Backstraps is proudly brought to you by Homes by Shayne. Making your move with the Homes by Shayne team means an unparalleled customer service experience. That level of service is the foundation of this RE/MAX Results referral-based business. Our driven team of experts communicate with their clients every step of the way, ensuring a memorable experience from the first conversation through your closing day. Go to homesbyshane.com for more information. Let's get you home. If you would like to sponsor the Boots and Backstraps podcast, or you have an interest in joining our team, send us an email to bootsandbackstrapspodcast@gmail.com. Welcome back, everybody, from the break. And as we alluded to before we went to our little mini break there, and TK, you're talking about your good buddy in studio with us. I'll let you do the honors.
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, not quite a lifelong friend, but not quite a lifelong friend, but since we were little kids, pretty much.
All the important parts of life?
I was a kid at the time.
You were a
little
kid.
Older.
Yeah, you were a kid. And I was a little older, obviously. I'm older than everybody, for crying out loud. But
I
this
heard
is,
you have an autographed Bible.
I don't know if that's funny or blasphemy.
No, it's funny. There's no blasphemy there.
Ask Bob.
I knew the Beatles. I did talk to John Lennon on the telephone once. Ladies and gentlemen, with us today, as you know, Boots and Backstrap, we like to have hunting celebrities and country music celebrities. Well, today we have a Twin Cities celebrity of sorts. You know, he owns, certainly in my eyes, the most successful and the go-to sporting shop in the Twin Cities, Joe's Sporting Goods. And Joe is Jimmy's father, who's...
The original was my grandfather.
Oh,
I'm third
see,
generation.
here we go.
Started in 1930, so 91 years ago.
91 years. So your grandfather was the original. I thought it was your dad, and I knew your dad.
So you were there for opening day then?
I don't know if I'm going to tolerate this much longer.
Live broadcast.
We do have a director, and we can edit me popping you in the nose.
Nope, this one's live.
Oh, that's right.
No editing.
Well, Joe's Sporting Goods used to be on Maryland and Dale.
Dale and Como.
And did I say that correctly?
You said Maryland.
Maryland.
Yeah, that's where the creamy cone is. Como was about another half mile south.
Oh, that's right. Of course. Of
Yeah.
course. You know.
Dale Como front intersection.
I've been mispronouncing and saying names wrong all day today. So there I am saying that. Right on Como and Dale. And everybody in St. Paul, Minneapolis, surrounding areas went to Joe's. If they wanted specialty product and if they needed work on their guns or whatever, you always had a great gunsmith, many there. Anyways, many great memories.
Yep.
And we have
The owner, Jimmy Rauscher.
Jimmy Rauscher. Thank you.
Thank you.
I thought I already introduced him.
Now we went right to the sporting goods. It was like, hey, let's tell everybody who he is, though.
Well, he did. He said, I'm third generation.
He introed himself.
We don't know what the hell we're doing.
Time
here
from now,
today.
before we start the show, you're having a shot. Jimmy, thank you for joining us today.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're very excited to have you with us.
Yeah, we've had some fun guests, and I know you're going to be a lot of fun. We have some pretty fun hunting stories we can share when we were both young. We have certainly a number of mutual friends. You have employees at your store that have been there. Well, tell me, how long has some of them been there?
Can I say one thing really quick?
Sure.
Jimmy, you and we took like a straw poll with the whole team here, and you by far, TK, he had the longest drive to get to the show.
I thought
It's like right across the street. You could hit his store with a football if you throw it hard enough from here.
Yeah, we're only about a mile away.
Not even that, I don't think.
Yeah, it's
Close
about
to
a mile.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, so back to the employees. You've had
Yeah.
the most wonderful employees, and being a former business owner myself, you can judge a bar, a restaurant, a business by how long their employees stick around, and your employees, and that's a real tribute to you. It says a lot about you. Here at the Hoggsbreath, we've had employees that have lasted many decades. And what's the longest you've had?
Right now we're going on that are currently working for us about 40 years.
40
Two
years.
of them.
That's-
Doug
wow.
Staley, our general manager.
Yep.
He started in high school. He went to Alexander Ramsey back in the day.
Oh, yeah.
And he was a cross-country skier. And so he started working part-time for us.
Yep.
And, he and I both graduated 82, and he's still with us.
Yep.
So I think he was a sophomore in high school, maybe when he first started working for us. Lori Eyre, our cashier.
Everybody loves Lori.
Everybody knows Lori up front.
Everybody knows her.
Yep.
She's like the face.
She is.
Of, Joe's Sporting Goods.
And she remembers people, and that's a
Oh,
huge
yeah.
thing. As they come in, she'll say hi to them and give them a little hard time as they're leaving. and or like you, a lot of hard time.
A lot of hard time. I was easy picking, so I always had my mouth going, and so I left myself wide open all the time.
Sure.
She's a sweetheart, and I'm so happy that she's still there. I mean, I can think of guys like, well, I can't think today because a guy who does our lawn, Lynn.
Oh, she's
not paying attention.
She's not paying attention to me. But big, tall, I can't believe he's going to kill me.
Who cuts your grass? Mike Miller?
Oh, Dave Miller, you know, he's a regular customer.
Well, when you
yours.
said tall, I thought of Dave Miller right away.
Yeah, no, I apologize, folks. I'm just not on my game today. He does our lawn service. Charlene's friend. Never mind. I know you'll think of it.
She doesn't have an excuse. She had a shot.
Yeah.
That's right. He's like a pro golfer. Anyway, we have so many old friends. Certainly Ron Fisher.
Absolutely.
Ron, how many years did Ron work?
Ron was there upper 40, 46 years.
Yeah. That's how I got involved with
That's
Joe's
like unheard of.
Yeah.
4 decades. That's incredible.
I went to Joe's
Bert
Benchute.
Bert Benchute.
Hopefully Bert's not listening. Sorry, Bert, I forgot your name.
He's doing your grass?
He has a lawn service now.
Well, yeah,
Yeah,
and
he
he,
does
used to
ours.
work for us back in the day
Oh,
at
yeah.
the old store. Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many people that we know, and so many of your employees have become friends down the years.
Yeah.
I forgot where I was going after Bert.
Well, it's a really impressive store as a guy that's been in there a few times.
Well, thank you.
Obviously a famous name in the Twin City area. You just about have to be dead to not have been in the Joe's at least one point.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, it's our second location. Our
Right.
first one on Dale and Como, and then we outgrew it. We needed more space,
Right.
and the location didn't complement that because
Right.
all we would have done is taken our own parking away to add more building, and parking space is huge.
And you had added on quite a bit to the original.
We had done
Joe's.
4 additions
Yeah.
over the years.
Right.
And our last one was in '89.
Right.
So,
Yeah, it was a cool store, but yeah, if they'd expanded there, they'd have just lost all their parking, and that wasn't going to happen. And the new sporting goods store, it's not new anymore. How many years has it been?
It's coming on 18 August 1st.
18?
18 years.
Okay, I thought
So,
like 20.
2003 August 1 is when we opened up that new location.
Right.
And the joke is when do you quit calling it the new location? And somebody said when you do another one, and I said, well, this will always be the new location.
Yeah. You guys you seem to be very successful there. Everybody knows that if you want quality stuff, I can remember back in the day going to the Holiday store, looking for a specific shotgun shell for pheasant. Jimmy and I used to pheasant hunt a little bit together.
Yeah.
You weren't going to find it at Holiday, which became
Holiday
ultimately
became
Gander.
Gander, yeah.
Yeah.
They bought out Burger Brothers
Right,
also.
Burger
the Holiday
Brothers.
family did, yeah.
Right, and they didn't specialize, and you just get stuff that you would find at Walmart these days. And Joe's Sporting Goods always had the good stuff, and the prices were never unreasonable. And you know, if you're a pheasant, you're a serious pheasant hunter like I used to be. I guess I still am. You know, you want a heavy-duty load, and you want some knockdown power, and they just had everybody there. And you know, they were old school. You don't get it anymore, and they're still the same way. Service, they emphasize service. You got everybody that knows what they're talking about. Go into a Gander or anything, any place these days. You got a young high school kid who doesn't really know the product. Your people have been there for a long time. They're well trained in hospitality, and they're well trained in the product that you're selling. I know you're hunting, camping, skiing, fishing.
Yep.
And any department you go into. I guess this is going to be like a Joe Sporting Good infomercial.
Well, I will. You know what I'll say? Anyone that's into the outdoors as a whole, whether it's athletically or it's a hobby like hunting or fishing, like something along that line, having people that are in the store that know those industries is critical, because technology is changing the equipment on a by second basis.
Yep.
You go into like a fishing section as an example, and you look at all the lures and the lines and the leads and the weights and the rods and the reels, and it's like your head would explode if you didn't have some sort of expertise, right?
Yeah, and it's also with, a lot of people will go online and do the research themselves and find out what they need, but they want to come in and talk to somebody to
Right.
kind of reassure themselves making that decision. And if they can come in and talk to somebody that is confirming what they've already pre-learned
Right.
ahead of time, and it qualifies them. But it's like anything, hunting, fishing, it's that little bit of expertise or that experience that you've had over the years.
Right.
Myself, I go to Wyoming mule deer hunting and elk hunting almost
Yep.
every year for a long time.
Right.
And going out there in the different techniques, no two people necessarily hunt the same way.
Right.
But if you can give experiences and talk them into it, talk them through it.
Right.
I was never a believer. My dad taught me, if you don't believe in a product, don't put it in the store to sell it.
Right.
And I learned on elk hunt out in Colorado. I was out there with an outfitter, and it was a horseback ride. It was real close to dusk, almost time to get off the mountain and start heading back. And he goes, hold on, wait a minute. And he's looking up on this mountaintop along the tree line, and he's going, there's elk up there. And I've got my $200 binoculars I thought were pretty good back in
Yeah.
the day. This is back in 2000.
Sure.
And I'm looking up there going, where do you see elk? Okay, at the tree line. There's a couple of bulls back in the timbers, and there's cows out front. And I'm like, where the hell
Where's the timber?
where's the elk? Where's the timber?
You gotta look for those blonde butts.
Yeah. And I said, do you mind if I try yours? And he had a pair of Swarovskis.
I was just going to say, there must have been Swarovskis.
Yep. And I looked, and it was like, talk about an instant believer. All of a
Oh,
sudden,
man.
you could see the animals up there and count them. And with mine, you could see a little bit of movement once in a while, but you could not see the definition of a different elk to be
You
able
could
to
see
count
the
it.
horns on the two bulls.
Yeah.
Like
and it's
4K, huh?
And right away, that made me a believer on that. And when I can relay that story to a customer, or you're sitting on the edge of a mountain looking at this hillside, and you're glassing for hours on end, because it might be 1-2 miles away, and you're looking at every little spot out there, see if they're bedded down or that. Matter of fact, we have a cool picture of a mule deer. 2 years ago, I was out Wyoming, and there was a 3x4 mule deer, 330 yards away, just bedded down, and looking at them. Got the spotting scope on them. I was able to get my camera on it. We got a cool picture of it out there.
Wow.
And just to be able to see that with the different the glasses, the optics, binoculars are huge because you're looking through them all the time. Then you have your spotting scope to be able to zoom in. Mm-hmm. So, and when you can relay that story and people understand it and appreciate it, they thank you. Same thing with good quality boots, a good rifle,
Oh, absolutely.
whatever it might be.
Boots are so important. Oh.
Yeah.
And all of our equipment is so important.
We've got a nice shot here, TK.
What have we got?
It's a picture of Jimmy with a muley.
Yeah, that one was probably about 5-6 years ago, muley out in Wyoming. Yeah, it was a nice one.
Where in Wyoming are you going, Jimmy?
Pardon me?
Where in Wyoming are you hunting?
Just over the Bighorn Mountains on the west-facing small town of Ten Sleep.
Oh,
And we're south about 50 miles.
I looked at property in Ten Sleep once.
Did you?
Yeah, Lynn and I were out in Sheridan, and I wanted to live in Wyoming, and I saw a property. So we drove through the Bighorns to Ten Sleep.
One of the most beautiful drives.
Well, one of the most, this property had that, I don't remember the name of that river, running right in front of the porch. Do you remember the name of the river that goes
Offhand, I
through
don't.
Ten Sleep?
It's probably Ten Sleep Creek.
Kyle, can you look up the name of the river that runs through Ten Sleep, Wyoming?
Anyway, I love that part of the world. As it turned out, it never happened, but I could have been a resident of Ten Sleep, Wyoming. I have a nephew that lives in Lander, Wyoming.
Yep.
Not terribly far from there. A couple hours anyway. And just love Wyoming. It's tough to get a...
Look, I think we got something. Kyle, what do you got?
The West Moraine.
yeah.
Okay, yep.
Yep, the Moraine River's there's a few rivers with that name in it out west. So, Wyoming, where were we? He's been, Shayne's fairly new to hunting.
Okay.
He wanted to get into hunting, so I
Just
said.
like probably 5 years.
So I took him on his first hunt. I guess we've shared the story before. It was an elk hunt in Colorado. We didn't get an elk.
He jumped one.
I did. But it was a year that they had the big forest fires, and there was dirt in the air, and we were up at a real high elevation. And that's the reason I'm wearing sunglasses today, because I lost a lot of my eyesight. It's a neurological issue that can happen, excuse me, when you're at too high of an elevation, lack of oxygen. But anyway, I did call in a Shara's moose. It was, I don't know, probably 500 yards away, and started grunting. He came right to him, like from here to that wall.
Really
And
close.
A big Shara's moose. It was really cool. It's in that moose is in our opening segment.
Yeah, it's in
But the reason I'm talking about all of this is I want to, excuse me, I want to bring Shayne over to your office someday, because he has in his office one of the most magnificent antelope I've ever seen in my life.
North American antelope.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it was.
So buck, obviously.
Yep, it was out in Wyoming where we hunt out there,
Yep.
and I went with an outfitter on that one, and it ended up taking #1 in Wyoming that year.
Really?
Oh, it's a massive.
After we got it, I thought maybe top 5, and it ended up taking #1.
Wow.
There
Do we
it
have a
is.
photo? Oh, there.
Yep, it's up there now.
Oh, you have a picture of
Holy
it.
moly. What did that measure to?
Look at that beast.
That's got to be at least 15, 16, 17.
It's around 16. How thick it is, so high, is where the points really added up.
It gets wider as it goes up.
Yeah,
And it's got these little kickers everywhere.
exactly.
What a beautiful buck.
We'll have to get together someday and take a trek over there. I mean, he's got a cool office.
Can you tell me about that hunt? Because I'm a geek for that sort of thing. Like, I want to hear it's 4 in the morning. I got up and there's just crickets outside, you know?
The cool part about this is where my dad got me started going out to Wyoming back in 76 or 78. I forget
Wow.
which year it was.
Back
Well, it
when
had to be
things were
76
simple.
because I was 12.
I started with life in 77.
Okay. So we went out there, and originally the rancher out there, he didn't have any outfitters or that, and
Right.
he would let public come on his land and hunt anywhere. So we got going on that, and then about 5-6 years later, maybe a little later than that, an outfitter came on board and started leasing up a lot of his land.
Okay.
Well, when you look at a map, it's not just a big square is
Right.
the outfitter. It's patches here, there, and everywhere else. So we got to know the area pretty well, and BLM and state land is what we hunt. And we put up a wall tent and stay in there. But I've kept in touch with the outfitter every year and stopped by and see him, and built up a really nice relationship with them. We pay a trespass fee to cross some of their fence lines to get over to other state and federal land.
Tom, are you taking any mental notes? Because it sounds like we have a new spot to hunt.
You know, what I was thinking about is my very first trip out west was to Gillette, Wyoming.
Oh.
And it was a mule deer antelope hunt. And I'm telling you, man, that was the coolest thing in the world. You'd hit those ravines. My buddy had stopped the truck and said, "There's a ravine over there." And I'd say, "Okay, I believe you." So if we walk over there, a bunch of mule deer will jump out of there. And I'm like, "How do you know?" He says, "Every ravine you go to." So we got out of the truck, walked over there, and 20 mule deer come running out of there. I'm like, "Well, that's crazy." It was an amazing time for me. The different topographic, it looked like everything was so close. And I'd see my buddy in Orange over there, and I'd walk over there. I didn't realize I was walking 5 miles. And then I'd walk back, and I'd walk over. I blew out a knee on that trip, just
boy.
walking everywhere. But we had so much fun. Gillette, and I guess the reason I thought about it was back in the 70s as well. And we were just staying at a rancher's house. He had a cool barn. He put us up in the barn. And, you know, we had bunks and stuff. And the rancher charged us $50, and I want to say it was $50 for the whole week.
Wow.
A piece. There was like 8 of us, and we all gave him $50, and he actually drove us around everywhere on his ranch, and told us where to go and fed us.
Sure.
Well, I was just going to ask you, Jimmy, on that trip, you got an outfitter, you got a wall tent. How long is that particular hunt?
That hunt was a 5-day hunt.
Okay.
And I think probably on day 3 I ended up getting that antelope.
So let's talk through it, though. I got to hear the dirt. I love it.
Yeah, going with the outfitter, knows the whole area and everything.
Yeah.
And it was a windy year.
Okay.
A lot of wind coming. So you're horseback, you're on horseback, and we're going to different spots. And
Are you rifle or archery now?
I'm sorry, rifle.
Rifle, okay.
Rifle on this one.
Okay.
And so we're working over areas, and it's a lot of sagebrush. You're not up in timber.
Right.
It's a lot of sagebrush.
Lower
and,
land.
some junipers and that, and kind of rolling hills. So you might see them out there, but antelope, you can sometimes walk up to them, and there's other times you shut a car door and they're a mile away and they'll run.
Yeah.
I mean, they're pretty skittish.
Yeah.
So anyways, we see this herd kind of in a low area staying out of the wind, and we work our way around. It was probably about a mile that we had to come around and try to get a spot on them. We came over this ridge a little bit, and 330 yards away. 330 seems to be the magic number out there.
Yeah.
The one elk the mule deer that I saw was 330. This is 330. We were there probably a good half hour, 40 minutes, and the outfitter, my guide, Richard, he's glassing this thing, and he's
pulling the eagle eye.
He's glassing this herd, and okay, you see this one over here? Yep, now I'm glassing. That one I think is the biggest, and he's kind of going back and forth. And after about 20 minutes, I got my pack lined up, my rifle on it. It's like just waiting for the word, which one are we going to take? And he goes, okay, this one on the left over here, it's bedded down. As soon as it gets up, hopefully it doesn't get up and start moving fast. That's one we want to get. They were just laying there. But finally,
330 yards away at that point.
330 yards away.
And you got to stay on your scope, right? Because you can stand up any time.
Right. So he goes, well, you think you could take them laying there? I said, yeah, by now I'm not short of breath or that. I've got my backpack laying there and my gun resting on that, so a very, very stable platform. And he goes, okay, when you're ready, go ahead and take a shot. And I squeezed one off. Thing got up, jumped up, ran in about a 10-yard circle, came right back to where it was, tipped over, and he was dead.
Oh, fun.
Never got up again.
Great shot.
Took off. And,
Great shot.
And I had the opportunity to get the, ready for the shot and that. And,
Well, he certainly picked the right one. I've been to New
Beautiful
Mexico
animal.
elk hunting. I mean, antelope hunting in South Dakota and Colorado, and I've never seen an elk like that. I keep saying elk, antelope. Forgive me, next week I'll have my mouth all fixed up. My mix all talked up today. Holy cow. But I've never been very good this time of the day. I'm used to performing in the evening.
Yeah.
I'm not even awake yet. Jimmy, what were you shooting with?
On that trip, I had a 7mm 08 in a Browning A-bolt.
Okay.
And I'm a member up at Forest Lake Sportsman's Club, so they have we have a 400-yard range there.
Right.
And I shoot on that one a lot. And I can keep a pretty tight group at 400 yards with it.
So you felt really good at 330.
I was
when
more
you're
than
stable
comfortable with it. Yeah, absolutely. Out there, you can get long shots. Some guys are taking 700-yard shots, even longer. I mean, nowadays with the long-range rifles and that, they're taking long ones. But with standard rifles and that, some guys are trying to do a 700-yard shot because that's what the ballistics say that I should be able to do. Well, unless you've got your breathing down for pulling that trigger and everything else, and it's a calm situation, you can't be taking that long of a shot.
No.
Right.
My elk that I took in Arizona was a big elk, scored 360.
Nice.
And That one was at a 400-yard. It was kind of across the valley up on the other side of the mountain range, or mountaintop, just below the crest, and just standing there. We ranged that one at 403, and
Pink.
got him.
Yeah,
Do we have a photo of that one? Do we have the bull?
How did he react at the shot?
Well, first shot,
Holy moly! Is that the bull?
yeah.
You got to be kidding me!
Yeah, on the front brow tines, they have
got
those
the
other
devil.
little points up there called devil's points.
Yeah.
And with those, they're considered actual points. It would have been a royal 7x, or it is a royal 7x7, and that was the biggest elk I've ever taken.
That's a pig.
Yeah.
That thing is huge.
Took 2 days to get it out, and the next day we woke up to a foot of snow on the ground.
Wow.
So talk about
Timing.
That was a lot of hard work.
That was
getting it out.
Colorado?
No, that one's Arizona.
Oh, that's Arizona. Yeah.
Yeah.
Please tell me you got a shoulder mount for that thing.
Yeah, I've there's
hanging
another
in the
picture
store.
that they might pull up. It's in the store also. On
Yeah, Katt, do you have that one of that bull in the store? For the viewing audience or the listening audience, you can see us kind of turning because we've got these these pieces of media on the screens in the bar, and so we're just kind of looking to where we can
there
see
it
it.
is.
Wow, what a beautiful bull!
Yeah, I was really happy with that.
I would think.
That was taken on Friday, right after Black Friday, right after Thanksgiving.
What year?
When you're in 2003.
Oh, okay.
The first year the first year we're opening the new store.
I was just gonna say
2003.
the store's 4 months old at that point.
You know, if you're in retail, you're not out hunting and playing
Right.
when you're an owner. And
Right.
the opportunity on this came up, and I said to my brother, my dad passed away in 93
93.
at 62 years old of cancer.
Oh, sorry to hear that.
He was
So-
way too young. He was just knowledgeable. He was just that store was.
He
in
created a
his blood.
legacy. Look at this store.
Yeah,
Yeah.
You come in the store and not everything is trophy-size animals. I mean,
Right.
some people call us, hey, we're kind of the average Joes. We love to go out there and hunt, and
Right.
it's not about taking the biggest one.
Right,
It's
right.
about the experience. My dad got me hunted a long time ago.
Well, how long did your grandfather have it before your dad took it over?
Well, my grandfather passed away in spring of '64.
64.
Yeah, so about 3 months after I was born. And
Oh.
now my dad and mom bought out
How long did he have it?
my
Grandpa?
1930
Oh,
started.
30, okay.
Yep. So, and my mom and dad bought out my grandfather probably in about 58, 59 when they first got married.
Okay.
Because we always lived above the old store.
Yep.
So my grandfather lived up there, and then when my mom and dad got married, and my dad was bought out the store. Grandparents moved out. My mom and dad moved in above the store, and I lived there until I was 20 years old.
Wow.
Okay.
So
What a great deal. I mean, anyone that can inherit or just grow up working in a family business, I think you get such a head start on life. So your grandfather had it about 28 years and your dad had it about 30?
yeah, late 50s until 92 when he passed,
Yeah.
or 93.
And then how many years have you and your brother had it now?
Well, my mom, when my dad passed, my mom was obviously the owner.
28,
on it.
right? 20
and
years.
We bought her out about 2 years later.
Right.
Yep.
Wow.
2 or 3 years later, 95, 96, somewhere around there.
So this may be a dumb question, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Did you grow up hunting? Was your father, your grandfather, were they avid hunters?
Yeah, my dad got me into it, and
You would certainly think that with the
But
industry.
me and Ron Fisher taught him how to pheasant hunt.
yeah. Down in Iowa was the first time I shot my wild pheasant. It was with Tom and Ron
Okay.
in Iowa, and that was a great time.
Oh, man. The memories. I mean, we were talking about that at our home in my great room. We have animals all over the walls and stuff. And
Sure.
we were talking about trophies versus memories. And every animal is a memory for me. And, out of all these years that I've been pheasant hunting, guided up at Wings North, and all the pheasants I've shot, I've only mounted one. But it had double spurs.
Oh, wow.
And that's why I mounted
Sure.
it. But my first love has always been pheasant hunting and those trips down to Iowa. And I still go down there. I still go down to Cresco, Iowa. And I don't see the birds as well as I used to which kind of sucks, but I'm not going to stop.
Right.
You know, the last pheasant that
He's going to be out there with that colored cane beating the bushes.
well,
I'm close to the edge of the field. Point my gun. Point my gun.
A rooster jumped up at my feet and flew straight away, and I pulled my gun up, and I'm like, I can't see the bird, but I could see the tips of his wings, and it's just the center part was gone, so I have to learn to shoot between the wings and whatever. But I'm not going to give up. You know, I got a great friend down there, and we've been hunting that Cresco area. I even had Ron down there a few times.
Sure.
With Scotty Jordan, and a lot of fun, a lot of great memories, and that's what it's all about. I mean, it's the camaraderie, it's being out in nature, and the memories that it produces. And
do you remember your first hunt? Was it with your father, with your grandfather?
Well, my grandfather passed away. Yeah,
Yeah.
I was 3 months old.
Oh, right,
So
right.
pretty
yes.
much no memory there, obviously. But my dad, absolutely. We used to go duck hunting up at Carlos Avery, and
which at that time was kind of up north a little bit.
yeah, it was up north a ways. And we never had a dog. You know, we lived above the old store, so
Right.
you didn't have a yard for it. So we did the duck hunting. We didn't do much pheasant hunting in that, not having a dog. So that's where we were more the big game hunters. And going up north to my Uncle Jerry's cabin up by Longville,
Oh yeah.
and deer hunting up there. And I remember getting up early in the morning, and it was so cold. How can this be fun? And you know, you're out there, and all of a sudden you'd see a deer, and it didn't matter if it was a doe or a fawn or that. It's like your
Right.
heart got pumping in that. And, you
Oh
know,
gosh, yeah.
I was probably about 8 years old at the time. You know, not carrying a gun, just going along and
Right,
being in the
right.
stand. And,
Boy, that's fun. That's fun stuff, man. Like I said, it's what it's all about, and I can talk about that sort of thing all day long. And I think all the hunters share that in common. One of the reasons I brought up the antelope in your office is because the second hunt I ever took Shayne on was an archery. Both of our first hunts were archery.
Sure.
And we took him antelope hunting in South Dakota. And we were in a blind on a water hole. We'd spot and stalked, and we'd done a lot of different things, but we wanted to sit in a blind too. Well, a bunch of antelope came in, and Shayne's like, his eyes were like, he's dialed in. We're sitting facing like you. The antelope are coming this way, and Shayne says, "Do you mind if I try?" I said, "Absolutely." I said, "You're up." You know, always the new guy, you know.
Right.
So he gets down on his knees, and the antelope are over here, and I'm watching Shayne just to see if he's calm. And he was dialed in, man, like he'd been doing this all his life. He's got his rangefinder out there, and I don't encourage people to shoot an animal at this distance with their bow, but he and I religiously practiced at 60 and 70 yards, you know, all summer long.
Right.
I was
Yeah.
about a 3-inch group at 70
Yeah,
at that point, so.
Yep.
So he
It was
says
tight.
65 yards, and I'm like, but he was walking towards us, so I'm watching him, and he put the rangefinder down, and he pulled back, and he's just focused. So I'm kind of watching him, seeing his form. He's on a knee, shooting out the window, and at 60 yards, man, he let that arrow go, and I'm like, I never expected that arrow to hit. It not only hit it, it took out both legs and the heart. The thing just went boop, 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 and done. I was like, wow, you're ready.
Not that dissimilar to your story. The animal ran maybe 20 yards and just boop,
Yeah.
flipped over.
Yeah.
Oh, he's running on adrenaline. And
Absolutely. They just don't know they're dead yet.
Yeah.
But this is running on broken legs. You know,
Yeah.
we got up there, we were like, how did this thing run on? These legs are like,
You could see the legs kind of.
yeah.
Anyway, that's antelope hunting is fun, and we have a great spot. Some great ranchers out there in northern South Dakota. Looking forward to doing that this fall.
Yeah.
So, you know, Joe Sporting Goods, let's get back to Joe's. And I know a big part of Joe's has always been the skiing part.
Yep, there's another mule deer shot.
Another mule deer?
This one has a pretty cool story. This was 3 years ago, 2018. Yeah, 3 years ago.
Where were you hunting?
And this is right out in, where we hunt out in Tensley.
Okay.
And I took my nephew, Joey Ogard. It was his first time out hunting. I believe he was 15 at the time, 15 or 16. And I asked him, I said, my sister's son, He'd done a little bit of other bow hunting up behind their house out in Stillwater, and he had gotten a deer. And I said, "Would you like to go on the Wyoming hunt?" And it's like, oh yeah. You know, I always hear stories about this, and you and Grandpa, yeah, I'd like to go. So I brought him out there, and I mean, Dad had been gone 25 years, and I think he was right there with us because we got 6 inches of snow the night before.
Love hunting in the snow.
Oh God, we went up to our spot where we normally go, and we're watching down this valley, and in the morning for first hour, and saw a lot of deer, but nothing big. And after a little bit, I said, let's just go over the top because we're right towards the crest, but wanted to wait till daylight. Let's go over the top, and sometimes we see deer in this little honey hole, I like to call it. But we go over there, and this buck and another one that was bigger were both over there grazing down below us, 120 yards, just having a good time down there. No idea we were up there.
Nice.
I said, Joe, okay.
Favorable wind, clearly.
Absolutely. And I said, hey, take your time. Here they are, blah, blah, blah. Let's get situated. We had 10, 15 minutes to get set up, let him get his breathing down.
Wow.
I said, you take
You set up a base camp while they're sitting there eating.
Darn near. I said, you take the one that you want. And we talked about it. He took the bigger one, and I said, I'm not even going to worry about the other one. We're going to get your deer. He shot his deer, ran about 50 yards, tipped over, and died.
Nice.
The other one never moved. I said, hold on a second.
No
So I took
way.
the other one, and so the one I have in that picture is the smaller of the two deer. And
Still really nice.
Still
he
a
got
beautiful
spoiled
deer.
for his first deer, a nice big muley.
Isn't that funny? Sometimes those mule deer or turkeys or some animals, you think they're going to be bolting, and all of a sudden they just lay there.
Right.
If they don't see danger, sometimes they don't equate it. So he just stayed tight. Cal darn it, how much fun. I love Wyoming. Back in the 70s, you know, it was pretty easy to go out there and buy a license and
Yeah.
get one over the counter. Now the drawing system is so complicated, both Montana
Do they
and
have over-the-counter in Wyoming, or is it all draw?
Draw.
everything's draw.
Yeah. And about once every 8-10 years, I don't get drawn on a mule deer tag.
Yeah.
And this year, just they did the draw right after, probably earlier this week. But I didn't get drawn for my mule deer or my antelope in Wyoming. I got
Really?
drawn for a bull elk. So I'll.
You know, when we stop over to Joe's someday and visit with you, maybe we'll have lunch. You can show Shayne your mounts.
Absolutely.
maybe
Love
we
to
can
give you
talk
the nickel
about-
tour there and bring you up to the office.
Maybe
would
we
love
can
it.
talk about the application process, and you and I should start doing that. Because there's nothing like Wyoming.
But it sounds like the
Montana-
elevation's probably okay for you.
Right. I have
Yeah.
now with my eyesight issue, I've got to stay below 9,000 feet. And
Yeah, we're 5,500 to
Right.
6,000, so
Right,
just
right.
over a mile high.
So, you know, certainly that doesn't affect antelope hunting or necessarily mule deer, but it certainly can affect elk hunting.
Sure.
But that'd be fun to sit down with someone that's been doing it for a long time. Because quite frankly, I don't know if you've noticed in all the years I've known both of you, but I'm not the smartest guy in the world. I've faked it a lot, but
That's when you
that-
have the earbud and lens
Yeah.
in it. Yeah.
Yes.
But that application process, if you've got someone that's been there, done that, they can certainly help you with a lot of the questions. And I know there are people that do that for a living, and maybe we should join one of those associations too. But there's so much to do, and I'd love to get back out to, like even Lander. My nephew that lives in Lander, he has a hard time getting an antelope license, and he lives there.
Right.
That's sad.
Yeah. There's so many areas broke up. I mean, there's a big region, and then there's different areas broke up, and to know which one you want to hunt or not.
Zones.
Zones,
Right,
yep.
right.
Yeah.
And I've got a buddy of mine, Rich Cartier, that's coming along on this Wyoming trip with us this year. So
Okay.
that'll be his first time coming out there, and he's really looking forward to it. And he got drawn on the antelope or the mule deer tag.
Well, it sounds like you guys have the right attitude. You know, there's so many hunters that I got to get I'm first, and I want to. You know, I've always flipped the coin. I had an elk hunt in. Where was I? I was in Montana on the Missouri Breaks, and a buddy of mine. I won the flip. We were bow hunting elk, and a big bull elk. I knew I had him patterned. He was going to come down to a water hole down this drainage. But I let my other buddy, because, it was his first time, and I just wanted to, well, long story short, he put an arrow right in the shoulder blade. It sounded like he hit an oak tree without the bark. And we didn't harvest that animal, and it was fine because you know how big the shoulder blade is on. But some hunters just don't get it. It's all about getting that new guy or that kid. If you're patient and you're generous, like I went bear hunting once in Canada. There was 4 of us. I took the worst stand. I had shot a lot of bears, and I put my nephew and a good friend, 2 good friends, on what I thought were the best stands, and I took one out in a field. And I've never bear hunted on a field before. And I thought, well, this will be a long sit for no reason. Well, I wound up shooting the biggest bear, one of the biggest bears I ever killed. Monster bear. And we all got bear that year, but, what goes around comes around. And if you're generous in that respect, like you are, get the new guy an animal.
Yeah.
That stuff comes back to you. And for me...
Don't forget about the FNG.
All right, here we go with the acronyms.
It's the FN new guy.
Yeah.
Oh.
FNG.
Fun new guy.
The funky new guy.
That story is a great segue to this picture. Can you give us any insight on this picture?
That's a Kodiak?
Yeah, that was my Kodiak bear
Jeez.
taken up on Kodiak Island, Alaska. I believe it was 2001.
That thing's tiny.
Yeah. It squared out just over 10 feet.
Did it really?
10 foot 1.
Wow.
And
That's the hallmark, I think, 10 feet, isn't it?
yeah, and record, how they measure it for record book, and that is the skull. So the width of the skull and the length of the skull, if it hits 28 inches or bigger, it makes record book.
Right.
Mine was 27 and like 9/16 or
Right.
It was just shy of it, less than a half inch, but to me it didn't matter.
Yeah, of course not.
It was a great experience hunt. It was
That
a
is a
spring hunt
giant
up
bear.
there. It was cold.
I forgot about that Kodiak bear.
Yeah.
How long ago was that?
2001, so 20 years ago.
Wow. With me, everything is 30 or 40 or 50 years ago. It's nice to hear someone talk about something 20 years ago. Just a personal little tidbit there.
So tell us the story with that hunt.
People ask, did you have fun on that hunt? And I tell them it was an
Brutal.
adventure. It was brutal because they drop you off at a base camp, and then you kind of repack your bags for where you're going to go. It's a 2-week hunt.
Hunting with a tank, I assume, for a 10-foot bear?
It was a 375 H&H,
Okay.
which is kind of one of the old bear guns from the old days. I'm drawing a blank on their name. I want to say
That makes me
two
feel
hunters
much
from
better.
the old days. Sorry.
Don't be embarrassed. Don't say you're sorry. That makes me
But
feel
I
better.
read a book that they had written, this is back in the 30s and 40s and that, and talking about had any caliber cartridge I wanted to hunt with. And 375 H&H was kind of the old one, and 300 grain bullet, Nosler partition, and I ended up getting that bullet back after I shot it. When we were skinning it out, it had gone all the way through and just didn't get through the last bit of hide on the
Right.
exit. So,
I've seen that.
yeah.
Did it perform well? Mushroom right?
It
Right.
mushroomed beautifully. It retained 92% of its weight of the bullet. It didn't break up on you. And, that's what creates the impact.
Yep.
That.
So you going with a long shot or heart shot there?
Well, that one, it was about 150 yards away. We were glassing.
Which is nice and close for a rifle.
Yeah. You get up on a high spot and you're glassing the mountaintops. And it was springtime, April 15th was the start of the hunt to May 1st.
Okay.
And you're starting to see some of them come out of hibernation. And it might be a mountaintop 2 miles away, all snow. And all
Right.
of a sudden, you'll see a little squiggly line where it had come out of its den. And there's a black dot. Oh, there's the bear. And you kind of watch them. And the guide I was with, my outfitter, he's been doing this forever. And, he can tell by the swagger of a bear and how they're moving, whether it's a big bear, it's a smaller bear. We saw sows and their cubs and,
we'll leave
seeing
those
the cubs
alone.
playing around. And we had another bear we called Scruffy. Looked like he did not hibernate for the winter, so his hair was just really a mess. And he got to about within 300 yards of us. We weren't hunting him. He'd come by, and the guide would say, "You just keep watching him because he may get behind us, downwind, smell us.
Right.
He may turn and start to hunt us, or he might take off." He goes, because he's been out all winter and everything, he's
Probably hungry.
Well, I've
a little
always
hungry.
dreamed of doing that hunt on one of the Alaskan islands. I have a friend that would do that every year, springtime, and they
Yep.
come out and their fur is so beautiful, except for Scruffy.
Scruffy.
Were you hunting Kodiak specifically?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. On Kodiak Island, it's in the brown bear family.
Right.
And it's kind of become a subspecies of the brown bear.
Right.
The Kodiak bear. It has more of the hump on the back and other things, where coastal bears, just regular brown bears, are more of a coastal along the peninsula, and then interior brown bear is your grizzly.
And the grizzly is the smallest of the three.
Yes.
But I've heard that. So I've heard in order of aggression that Kodiak is the most aggressive, and then grizzly would kind of be next in line. Is that right?
I don't know if you could really separate it that much. At least I don't think so.
I think
Because like brown bears and black bears tend to be obviously less aggressive.
Well, when you see, like in Minnesota, a brown bear, it's really a black bear
Right.
that's
Right.
brown.
Yes.
Or a cinnamon bear, or that, a lot smaller bear.
I'm kind of glad you misspoke too.
What are you talking about?
Brown bear and black bear.
Oh, right. I'm thinking Alaska. Yeah.
Yeah.
So black bears tend to be less aggressive than grizzlies or Kodiaks, right?
Yeah, I've hunted, I've gotten to black bear up in northern Alberta, Canada. And it's like Tom was saying, he hunted over the field one time. You're mostly over bait.
Right.
And that's where I got those.
We had a
two.
bait out in that field, but we always, when you're hunting black bear, you want to be in the thickest, swampiest, darkest part of the woods that they feel comfortable being in. I've never seen a bear just march out into a field, and I'm sure they do, obviously, but that's not typically where you hunt them.
Buddy of mine, before it became illegal to import him, he got a
Polar bear?
polar bear.
Wow.
Yeah. And he has a place down in Tucson, Arizona, and he's got a full mount to that. Beautiful bear. But that's a bear that will hunt you.
Yeah.
Because,
Yeah.
they will hunt.
Those are the most aggressive bears.
Yes.
The polar bear. Will we get in the high sign?
We're going to take a little break.
All right.
Yeah, we got to that point where we need to, plug the sponsors, and so we are going to take a break.
Yep.
And of course, Jimmy, you're going to stick around.
I'll hang
We got a
around,
lot
you
more to
bet.
talk about. I have
Happy
a
to.
crazy question for you when we come back from the break.
All right.
And of course, we're breaking in a brand new segment when we come back as well. TK,
Oh,
this
yeah.
segment's for you.
I brought a recipe today.
It's as much tease as we're going to give them right now. We'll talk about it when we come back around. So, folks, stick around. We'll be right back with more Boots and Backstraps. Communicate with their clients every step. More information. Let's get you home. Boots and Backstraps is proudly brought to you by HOGGS by Shayne. Making your move with the HOGGS by Shayne team means an unparalleled customer service experience. That level of service is the foundation of this RE/MAX Results referral-based business. Our driven team of experts communicate with their clients every step of the way, ensuring a memorable experience from the first conversation through your closing day. Go to HOGGSbyShayne.com for more information. Let's get you home. If you would like to sponsor the Boots and Backstraps podcast, or you have an interest in joining our team, send us an email to bootsandbackstrapspodcast@gmail.com. Welcome back to Boots and Backstraps, everyone. We hope you enjoyed the break, an opportunity for you to empty your bladder and refill your glass. And we still, of course, have Jimmy Rauscher with us.
Thank you.
James.
Thomas.
It was a good break for us.
Yeah, absolutely.
Actually, might sell a gun while he's here today.
Ah, perfect.
Tommy needs a new one.
It's like he never gets off the clock.
You're going to have to really talk to Tommy because, I don't know, he's got some good guns, but he wants to buy another 300, and they kick like a mule, and he has issues. I'm trying to talk him into a 30-06.
Yeah, but you can get a break on them.
Yeah.
One of my first elk gun was a 300 Win Mag and a Colt Sour. And, I was a teenager at the time, and you go to the range, and after about 4 or 5 shots, my dad could see I was flinching a little bit. So we put on a KDF muzzle brake on it, and which is like shooting a 30-06. I think it reduced it by about 30%.
Wow.
And it made all the difference in the world.
Well, he's still flinching, I'm telling you.
So, TK,
I'm not trying to throw Tommy under the bus. I love him.
No, that's
I
okay.
know when you two guys get your heads together, you'll come up with the right product.
Just tell him bring his checkbook.
You bet. We can help him out.
So we have a new segment, Jimmy, and you're the first guy to get to hear this. So we started a segment a couple episodes ago where we're doing an introduction to whiskeys. So every episode we talk about whiskey.
All right.
And now starting with this episode and every episode thereon, because Tom has been a restaurateur for decades, we've decided we're going to add a segment that features you, TK, and recipes for wild game.
Okay.
Tomcat!
Actually, we brought a recipe today.
Tomcat!
That's not what I was waiting for. I'm like,
You're waiting for your sounder.
you're kind of putting me on the spot. We did bring a recipe, one of my
Yes.
favorite recipes. For those of you that aren't aware, my wife and I owned a steakhouse in Lina Lakes, Minnesota. It was actually a 5-star steakhouse. And
One of the few.
one of the unique things about it was we featured a different wild game every week. And, man, Jimmy, people love that.
Oh, I was there a few times.
Yeah.
Yep.
And
Used
so
to live
many
up in that
people-
area.
You know, so many people came for the steaks. We had great steaks. Our walleye was second to none.
Yep.
But there was certainly a lot of individuals that specifically came to Red Oak for the wild game. And, we featured everything from red deer to elk to rabbit to you name it. Pheasant, certainly, grouse. Maybe not grouse. I don't think we ever did grouse. Bison. But a lot of different wild games. And one of my favorite recipes, and did you want me to tell that recipe? Because Jill said she's going to post it.
She will. Yep, she
later
will. But
this
if I think you have it on your phone, Lynn. Why don't we just bring that over and give it to Tom? And then
No,
Tom?
that's fine. I don't need it.
Oh, all right. Fantastic.
No. I've
Just give you a reference point.
This is one of my first recipes, and I think one of our most celebrated recipes at the restaurant, certainly. It's pheasant breast with a white wine sauce.
Okay.
And
Let's walk the audience through how you get this thing.
well, first of all, you get a pheasant, shoot a pheasant, pick out all the BBs, make sure you get the BBs out. I have a sister that bit into a BB, and I had to pay her dental bill.
Uh-oh.
Merry Christmas.
Yeah, you opened your Christmas card from her and it was a dental bill.
So anyway, pheasant has got legs and a thigh. The legs are pretty stringy because the tendons run through the drumstick, but on the thigh it's got a fair amount of meat. But I'm just talking about the breast.
Okay.
You fillet a pheasant right down the middle and you take out the two breasts.
Are you a breast man, Tom?
I am a breast man.
Okay, just making sure.
And a leg man.
Yeah?
And
I'm a leg man.
And a leg man.
I know you're
Well, your
a
wife
breast
is
man.
tall. She is very tall.
Yeah, she's gorgeous too. We're going to have her on a segment. So here's the recipe. Take that pheasant breast, rub it in oil, marinate it if you want to, however you prefer it. Grill it. I like grilling things on a grill. Throw some wood in there. I like the smoke flavor, but I like grilling. Everyone likes grilling.
Right.
Especially in Minnesota.
'Tis
where
the season.
We get that short window of opportunity to grill. The wine sauce is the big deal. It's, it's real simple, actually. We use a can of cream of mushroom soup, and I'm specifically talking about just two breasts for, 2 people, 1 breast apiece,
Yep.
1 half breast apiece. Take a can of cream of mushroom soup. dump it in your mixing bowl. About a quarter cup of wine, half a cup of wine.
And are we talking like Sauvignon or Chardonnay or Pinot
whichever
Grigio?
wine you prefer.
Okay.
I always use Chardonnay.
You like it dry?
And, well, Chardonnay's not necessarily terribly dry.
One for you and one for cooking?
Yeah, absolutely. 2 for my wife, 1 for
Yeah.
me. She had the napkins that we serve on. She has napkins that say, a good glass of wine, cocktail napkins. A good glass of wine takes the bitch right out of me. Not that she's ever had that problem. But the ingredients, mince up a quarter cup of onion, quarter cup of celery, maybe a teaspoon of garlic. Mince that all up, put it in the cream of mushroom soup, mix in your wine, maybe half a cup, a little less of curcumin. My wife's over there. I've got this one down, honey. I know this one by heart. And I like to dash it up a little bit. I like to spice it up just a little bit. I throw a dash of red pepper in it.
Okay.
And, you mix it. You mix it in your mixing bowl, get a whisk, mix it. And you can either put it in the microwave or put it in a pan, but don't cook it. Just make it hot.
You didn't just say put it in the microwave.
Just because we're not
Should
cooking.
never use Chef Mike.
We're not-
Don't
we're not
radiate
cooking.
your food, people.
We're not cooking this product. We're just making it hot. That way you keep all of the flavors of the celery, the onion, the garlic, the wine, everything. Nothing gets cooked out.
Okay.
Make it hot, but don't boil it or cook it. So however you choose to do it, I sometimes get lazy, and I'm sorry, I use a microwave once
Chef
in a while.
Mike, get the Chef Mike going.
Because, like especially at Thanksgiving when you got a turkey going, you got a ham going, you got all these side dishes going, and we got to have my pheasant with white wine sauce. So that's a pretty basic and simple recipe, and whether you've got dressing on the side or cranberries or whatever, it's kind of like a Thanksgiving type meal. Ladle the sauce over the pheasant breast and dig in. I'm telling you. And I'll share a little secret with people. I do this at restaurants. Some people think I'm annoying and a little bit nuts, but I did it here today. I took a splash of Chardonnay, and I put it in my cream-based soup, which was chicken and wild rice. They have amazing soup here, and I can't tell you what a difference. I mean, if you just take a little splash of white wine or even beer in a cream-based soup, you can't believe what it does for the soup. It's amazing. So there you go. Little cooking segment.
All right, fantastic.
I'll tell you another cooking segment I was on. Forgive me. We're here to celebrate Jimmy, not my cooking prowesses, but this is kind of funny.
Okay.
Not the Today Show, Twin Cities Live. When we had the restaurant, they did a segment on Red Oak and steakhouses, and I went on live on Twin Cities Live, and I was cooking an elk tenderloin wrapped in bacon with freshly picked Minnesota morel mushrooms.
That's the best of the best right
And
there,
you don't
Jimmy.
get
It
no
is.
better than that.
It is.
So I've got the morel mushrooms going in a butter in a pan.
Oh.
And I said to the gal, I don't remember her name, I said, could you please hand me those thongs? And I saw their faces light up, and I'm like, oh yeah, thongs. And so she hands me, and they're biting their lip, and I'm like,
You're in your head, you're going, well, that's
I
my
said,
other
thank
job.
you for
Yeah.
I said thank you for the tongs, and then we cooked the elk tenderloin, and it was a cool segment. And
Did you get the temp right?
I got the temp right, got
Medium rare?
everything. It was beautiful. It was medium rare or rare. That was a big elk tenderloin. Big elk are. Mm-hmm. And the staff loved, because they eat everything that's made. They loved it. But when I got back to the restaurant, walked into my office, thongs all over my office. And I didn't really think that. I guess you are speaking through a speaker or a microphone. And I guess everybody heard it except for me. Thongs. Okay, let's get back to Jimmy.
So, Jimmy, I have what may be kind of a
Do I
crazy
have
question.
any tongs?
You could throw thongs from the audience?
Yeah.
I have a sort of a pseudo-crazy question for you about the sporting goods business in general.
Yes, sir.
I'm always impressed when I go into those places to see not only how many departments, but how do you decide how it's going to get laid out in there? Because it's like like, you have more, I would assume, sales efficiency by putting specific groupings together, right?
Right.
Like hunting and fishing should be somewhere by each other.
The biggest challenge is when we moved from the old store to the new location.
Right.
And, okay, you have a lot more room, and what's the layout
You
gonna
can stretch
be?
your legs a little.
Exactly. And we thought, oh, man, it's going to take, a good 5 years to fill up this place. And
Yeah.
in about a year and a half, we started to fill it up going, should we have gone bigger? No.
Yeah, I bet
So
you that.
you have to learn to live within your means. We don't have a basement under there. A lot of people think, oh, you must have a lot of storage. Well, we got a storage warehouse for a few things, but we have to sell everything by the end of the year and make room for the next item coming in. But when you grew up, we lived above the old store, and when you do that, you're always around it. And it almost becomes second nature of, well, yeah, that automatically would go with this over here, and then that would transition to this, and that'll transition to that. Two things when we moved into our store is live bait. That's what got us started in 1930. When my grandfather had a Buick repair garage, and Dale Street was a main thoroughfare going north.
Yeah, it was.
And he'd see all these guys going fishing, so he put in live baits, started selling live bait, and it grew from there. So we brought live bait back to the new store and the gun department. Okay, wanted the guns kind of like milk and bread in the back of the store where people are going to come through everywhere to see it, and live bait convenient up by the front.
Yeah.
From there, where else is everything going to fit in?
Right. You start
So-
looking at the puzzle, right?
Exactly. And it was kind of fun, and you never get it 100% right. You still, every year when the seasons change and new product coming in, you're always tweaking it a little bit, trying to make it a little bit different.
I have to imagine you have some very interesting meetings with the staff as a whole to say, let's look at our numbers. And you can, pinpoint maybe some areas where maybe if we flip-flop these or, shuffled this up or shuffled that up, that you'd have more effectiveness.
Yeah, and the nice thing about us being, family-owned, one store, you can change it during the season. You
Right.
know? It's not like a big mass merchant where
People walk in,
it's
they're like,
set that way and that's it.
It's supposed to be right here.
Well, you do. There's times you'll get together and say, okay, let's meet here 2 hours before we open tomorrow, and we're going to change all of this around. And customers will come in, and people that come in all the time, they'll stop and they'll look around and go, you changed it. Yeah.
Yeah.
When did you start carrying this? Well, we've always had it. You're just seeing it now.
Yeah, I remember the old Joes on Dale. They had a ski shop down in the basement.
Yeah.
Had to go downstairs, and we touched on the ski shop part of the equation.
Yeah, I'm interested.
A little bit ago, and I'm going to let you tell us. From what I understand, a little more profit in skiing versus, say, guns. I know in guns there's not a huge profit margin for the dealers.
No, gun's pretty skinny on that.
Yeah.
You really got to work on turns with that.
Yeah.
But even the ski hard goods, it's very competitive. Soft goods clothing has always been an area where you have
Yeah.
a little bit more margin. But at the end of the year, you have to sell it out, get rid of it, because next year it's a new color or style.
Yeah.
Where hard goods stuff, Browning BPS has been the same look and everything for,
Yep.
50 years, 100 years, whatever. But the ski side of it, my mom and dad started that side of the business early 60s. I wasn't quite around yet. I think it was around 62 or that. Skiing was kind of relatively new, and my dad, he was the entrepreneur, my dad was. He could see trends and different things coming up and being good, and so he was the one that he told my mom, let's go out and give skiing a try. So they took lessons, I believe from Denny Radke, who owned Wild Mountain, but back then it wasn't
remember
Wild
Denny
Mountain.
Radke. Oh, my
And
gosh.
Denny was over at Trollhagen,
Yeah.
and mom and dad took lessons from him.
Oh, my
And
You must know him. He's got to be your friend of yours.
No, he wasn't, but I remember that name.
yeah,
Shut up.
You know everybody, Tom. How do you not know this Denny Radke guy?
Oh, I do remember the name. Yeah.
so they took lessons and really enjoyed it, and could see the people going out there skiing and loving it. And so Dad tried to start buying ski equipment, but when you're a bait store, the ski
Right.
industry is more of a, at the time, out west, it's more of a
Posh.
posh. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
It's more of a posh business.
It's not so redneck.
And a lot of the
bit
manufacturers
Wyoming.
did not want to sell Dad skis to sell at a bait store. So no, we're not going to do that. Hart Skis, which was
Right.
just down the road, less than a mile from us where they were being made, they said, "Yeah, we'll sell you skis." And kind of was the start of getting into the ski industry and becoming, very successful with that.
There was the big ski shop out by Flaherty's.
Sitzmark.
Roseville. Sitzmark.
Sitzmark Ski Shop.
Yeah. Well, I know that's been a big part of the business.
Roger
over there.
Wigleitner owned Sitzmark.
Wow, I don't know who that is.
Oh,
But
Tom,
I
that's
remember
2 in a row.
Say, I've been in your shop.
Well, thank
obviously,
you.
many times. Do you still have live bait?
Yeah, live bait. We made
walk
room
in
for
the
it
door,
when we
off
came
to
in.
the right?
Off to the left.
Off
You
to
come
the
in,
left, yeah,
off
right
to
by
the
the
left.
fishing.
Yep, we've got a row of live bait, all the minnows, sucker minnows, crappie minnows, fatheads, shiners. We have the coolers, the refrigerators with
Yeah.
all the different worms, wax worms, angle worms, night crawlers. We also have,
You get a live bait. Here are your wells right here in the photos.
oh yeah, right there.
I know that she's been throwing some shots of the store up there, but the monitor over there is kind of far away from me. And
Sure.
periodically here, I've been looking over your shoulder.
We may have to
seeing
bring the studio
shots of the
monitor
store.
in just so you can see a little better.
If you see the,
that's all right.
this here was some of the sucker minnows, smaller ones. The next shot, if you can pull up, is it's considered a decoy minnow for muskie fishing or large northerns.
Right.
And
Killer Kyle. Oh, yeah.
hard to zoom in on that one, but yeah, that's just one big minnow there.
That looks like a sunfish.
Is that the same thing they would use for spearing?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay. Well, there you go. They've got it all there.
That's a
It's
big
great
piece
store.
of bait.
So I'm handling it through the net like that because you don't want to handle the fish or minnows taking the slime off. They can die quicker.
Right.
So always trying to just do it through the net. But leeches, we sell all the different live bait.
So speaking of your ski shop,
Yeah.
I never got into skiing or snowboarding for 2 reasons. One, because I hate cold weather, so we'll throw that on the table. But the second part is because it seems like when you have things going on in life, you own and operate a business and you have a family and things like that, there's only so many hours in the day. And so it's like you're either going to be the big hunting thing or the fishing thing or maybe you're a skier or whatever.
Right.
So there's so many things you can like get into legitimately, right?
Sure. My brother and I that own it together, we do pretty much all of it. Now,
Your exception to the rule.
his passion is skiing, snow skiing. He has skied every ski area in the upper Midwest.
Sure.
He has gone. His goal is every year to keep adding more areas. I think he's about a year away from hitting 100 different ski areas
Wow.
in the U.S.
Right.
And so his
That's a
passion
cool
is
deal.
skiing.
That's a cool,
Yeah.
what a fun adventure. Because ski resorts are just so unique, and it's a great sport.
Yeah.
I
It
lived
is.
in Aspen for a couple of years and banged my body up and down the mountains there quite a bit.
Yep.
But just going to these is such a cool experience, and what a neat way of life. Good for Joe.
Yeah.
Good for him.
Yeah, and his family's really into it. And I ski. I get out. I kind of broke my ankle in a Joe Rauscher Memorial Ski Race. We did a cancer memorial race, raising funds for cancer research.
Yeah, in honor of your
And-
father, I would
Yep.
assume.
And I was in the race one year, and it was kind of warm. It's always in March, and it was getting a little bit rutted on the course, and everybody was falling or skiing out. And my buddy behind me goes, "Hey, Jim, just push through it. You'll do fine. Break a leg."
Oh.
Well, guess what? I broke my leg in 8 places.
Oh.
Yeah, and But next year I was back out there racing again. Not as fast as I was.
Oh, man.
But
Those days are well behind me.
I don't think he meant it literally, though.
no, he didn't. No. But he reminds me about that.
We talked a lot about fishing today, and I reflect back on Ron Fisher, who managed Joe Sporting Goods for many, many years. He was a walking encyclopedia
Oh, yeah.
on hunting and fishing. I mean, fishing, you've got all these little intricate lures and doodads and gadgets, and certainly we do with hunting too, but that guy knew it all. I was starting to tell that story earlier, and I got sidetracked. That's how I got to meet Jimmy and his brother Joe. I bought a shotgun. I went to Joe's and I bought a used shotgun, and I was down in Farmington where I grew up hunting, and a couple roosters jumped up in front of me, and gun didn't work. I was bummed. We live for that. It was opening day, so I bought it back, and I can't tell you the salesperson's name, but I know you remember him. And Kurt
Kennedy.
Kurt was not nearly as personable at the time. I would see him for years after I always teased him. But Ron took over and he says, "Give me that gun." He used to put it on his shoulder. He says, "You're getting a new gun today." And, he says, "Here's why you need a new shotgun," he explained to me. And at that time, and I still have it, I use it as a turkey gun.
Sure.
They didn't
it's
have
a 12 gauge.
They didn't have chokes.
Screw and
back
chokes,
then.
yep.
So I had 3 different barrels.
Okay.
And so Ron sold me this gun. He calls me the same day or the next day. He said, "I have to come over. I'll come over to your house. I'd like to come over to your house because I gave you one too many barrels." And I'm like, "Really?" He gave me a slug barrel that went with the gun, and that wasn't included in the price. And I said, "Well, I don't know if I'm going to give it back to you." He says, "Well, I'd be happy." He was real professional. He came over to my house. He sat there, and we visited for like an hour and introduced him to my mom, and we just had a great talk. I mean, it was stuff like that, and that's the reason I continue to go to Joe's. And,
Well, Ronnie, when I was growing up in the business, and even though you lived above it and everything, you've got to learn something.
Yeah.
And Ronnie is really the one that taught me so much about the product on the floor and what you should have and when you should have it and everything.
and how to use it and what it's for.
It's back to kind of how we started out with, the different hunting loads,
Right.
turkey loads or pheasant loads or deer loads, all the different grains and the bullet type and everything.
Oh, yeah.
And
It's
to learn
incredible
that-
how much intricacy there is there.
Oh, yeah.
You got it.
Yeah.
It's a good word for it.
And, a lot of the new employees that come working for us, they enjoy the sport, so they want to work in it. But they don't know all the intricacies of it.
Right.
And to take the time and
You
to
need
work
like a
with them and-
manual that you carry with you.
Yeah, but it's one of those trainings. A lot of guys, do cut open their shotgun shell to look inside, but a lot of them don't. And when you do that and you show them the different types of powder in there and why one is dirtier than the other, and you look at the wads and the pellets, the BBs themselves, how some are really round, almost like a ball bearing, and others are,
Like
different.
Saturn.
Yeah, different sizes and everything, and just odd shaped. And to talk about it, and all of a sudden they can kind of put 2 and 2 together, why one is a little better than the other, or that.
Jimmy, what's your favorite pheasant load these days?
I am.
Prairie Storm?
Prairie Storm is good. It sometimes those Saturn pellets
Shaped
and BBs
pellets.
and that, they kind of slice up the bird if you hit close ones in that.
Okay.
But I've always been using the Fiocchi Golden Pheasant. It's one of the harder hitting loads. I use the ounce and 3/8, 2 and 3/4 inch, and I love it. Late season, if you're out there and it's birds are a little hardier, getting up further away in that, then I'll go to a 3-inch. But I usually stay with the 2 and 3/4
Yeah,
ounce
me
and
too.
3/8.
Can I ask you guys, because I've heard you both use this term now, hitting hard. For our listening audience that maybe isn't as familiar or as avid hunting, can you just describe what that means?
Well, I'll let Jimmy take it. I understand what it means. You have lighter loads and heavier loads. And
Kind of one of the analogies that I use sometimes is if you picked up like a handful of sand and threw it at somebody. If you're right next to me 2 feet away, you're going to feel it.
Yeah.
If you're 10 feet away, you're not going to feel
like
that.
dust.
Yep. Now, if I pick up a handful of marbles and you're 10 feet away, you're going to feel that. Okay, so depends on the size of the pellet that you're using, but you know, I use 5s a lot, 5s or 6s. But then the amount of powder, the size of the engine in there that's pushing it. And Fiocchi's always loaded
Like a 6-year-old throwing the marbles versus a professional baseball player?
Exactly, exactly.
I think I'm picking up what you're putting down.
Yeah, and you know, with my not having a very good shoulder for throwing anything, you know, I throw like a 6-year-old now. But anywhere from loads like that to trap loads, you know, I shoot a lot of sporting clays in that. And
You still do?
yeah,
Good for you.
yeah,
Forest Lake?
we shoot up at a little bit at Forest Lake, but mostly at Wild Wings this past year. Some of the other clubs that weren't able to open because they couldn't find ammo, and with COVID early last summer in that, they weren't open. So, yeah, a lot of different things like that. You know,
Well, I know we were talking during the break that COVID shut you down for a month, or should I say the governor shut you down for a month.
Yep.
And I'm
We
so,
try not to get political, Jimmy, but sometimes we can't help ourselves.
Tom.
I'm so happy. I'm so happy that they survived it and they actually thrived during it. I think maybe because a lot of people wanted to get out fishing, skiing, hunting. You know, they wanted to get outside. I mean,
You know, we're the outdoor sports that are individual sports.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, we don't carry golf, but that would almost be a category that would fit. We're not the team sports where you have to have a lot of people
Right.
together and everything.
Right, right.
So
Is it a
people-
floor space issue why you don't carry golf?
floor space, and it's probably floor space in the sense of you almost have to have a net to hit into or that area to hit into,
Yeah. Yeah,
you
and
need a
more
lot
of
of
a
space.
professional that can work with, you know, swing type and what's right for you. It's kind of like archery, to be honest.
Yeah.
We got out of it 2 years ago
Oh, did
because
you?
need to be so specialized
Oh, you
into
do.
it. We didn't have the space for archery
No.
anymore.
Yeah, and you have 0 archery products now?
As far as for the bow itself,
Okay.
all the hunting accessories for
Right.
archery, obviously.
Yeah, I thought I
But
noticed some of that. but you
arrows
don't
and
carry
that
any
we
bows.
got out of sights, quivers, all bows.
Yeah, you go into any archery shop, I mean, look at Full Draw right down the road from my house, or any of the archery shops. They're huge now.
Yeah.
They're in pole buildings, and I think
Bawana's down the road. You know, they do a great job.
Bawana's they were a trendsetter. They're the first ones to literally go into a big pole building.
Right.
I mean, they had the biggest archery shop west of the Mississippi, and now
And before there, they
just-
were, I believe, on Payne Avenue,
Right,
on
right.
the east side.
Yes,
and then
they
they
were.
moved into the big spot there.
and John is no longer with us, as you probably know.
Yeah.
He was fun.
That's very close to here also, obviously.
Yeah.
You know, probably not much further than your store is, just the
Right.
other direction.
Correct.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
I bought my
Things
first
are
bow from
changing.
Bawana.
Yeah, a lot of people.
Bowtech
did.
Experience.
Goodness.
Sure.
A lot
What's
of people
the,
got their first gun from Joe's and
Yep.
their first bow
First
from
gun.
Bawana's.
Let's talk about guns.
Who have you got?
Yeah, this one here.
It's like a tribute gun.
And this one had just come in not too long ago. It looks like an AR-15 painted up red, white, and blue. It's actually a 12-gauge shotgun. And
Oh, you're kidding.
No, it's a 12-gauge shotgun, and some guys are using it, not when it's in a regular black. They're using it for a turkey gun. Home defense is what this is primarily set up as. But
Got
yeah.
iron sights on it, I can see that.
Yep. You have the iron sights that pop up and down on it.
That is cool. That's a cool gun.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm glad that back to the COVID thing. I'm glad that you guys not only survived but you thrived through it, and so many people didn't. And what a great store. What else have you got to add? Anything?
Well, I don't add very much to this show, Tom.
No, I'm just
Oh, we
kind of.
appreciate you being here.
We went through a lot of bullet points, and I don't know that I've got.
I smile and nod, Jimmy.
Yeah.
I don't know that I've got many more questions. That's what I was asking.
Yeah,
if you've
I feel
got
like-
one, could you ship it over to me?
Well, I'll ship it. Let me grab my phone. I'll ship it over. I don't know if you
Put stamp on it
joke.
for him, would you?
Yeah, ship it. I feel like I have so many things I want to talk to you about, not just with the store, but with your hunting experience and that kind of thing. But we are up against the clock. So what I'd like to do is ask you to commit to coming back.
Absolutely. I'd
we'd
love to.
Love to have you back on again and dig a little bit more into maybe some of the other things with the store and telling more stories about some of the hunting trips that you've taken and maybe some trips that you've got planned. Because obviously I don't think you're probably done hunting, I would assume.
Oh, heck no.
Yeah.
No.
No, you never really. I mean, look at Tom. He's going to be out there like Ray Charles.
Yeah.
Hunting away.
I don't know, folks. What do you think about this teasing Tomcat about being so old?
I never said anything about old.
Yeah, that's an eyesight thing. You're the one that brought the eyesight up.
Oh, well, Ray Charles is kind of was older. He's no longer with us. So you're putting me right in the same category with the dead now.
What are you saying? You're on deck?
Oh!
No.
Put the bat down, Tom. We're not done with you yet.
No, we have lots of adventures in store.
We do
This old
indeed.
coot.
Yeah, I mean, as we were talking about with our episode we filmed just this last week, which will be released, because you're live today. Right now, this is live on the internet. But next week, the episode we filmed this week will go out. We're always kind of in that 1 week rotation.
Sure.
So we kind of referenced his experience, his age, like that kind of thing. It just kind of comes up in the conversation.
A veteran.
Yeah.
All right.
Like he brings it up. He'll say something like, "Well, my day," one of those things, and then I'll make a joke about it. And then he's like, "What? You can't joke about that." I'm like, "You just gave me permission. Gave me permission. What am I going to do with that?"
I've just some lost
Now he doesn't
words.
remember.
I used to be a little wittier. I know that for sure. And you would never have gotten away with this in the past.
I can imagine.
I would have had zingers coming back at you, but now I'm just like.
Now that's my
slow.
department. That's my department now.
Yep.
Yes, it is.
Yep. You get to be the sage, wise, experienced hunter/country guy. And I get to be a little less experienced, but more funny.
I almost gave myself a zinger, so I'm going to just shut up here.
Well, Jimmy, it's been an absolute honor to not only meet you, but have you on our podcast.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate it. It's been a lot of fun.
Tell folks just, your website, social media links, anything you want to say about the store before we cut you loose.
Well, joesportinggoods.com, joeskishop.com. Either one will get you to our website in there. We do have a social media platform, and to tell you exactly what it is, I am not going to be able to.
I'm sure they can search that. I'm sure they can search
I'm
Joe
on that
Sporting
same
Goods.
Joe Sporting Goods, yes.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, fantastic. Well, folks, thanks a lot for joining us this week for another episode of Boots and Backstraps. We want to also ask that you give us a like and a comment and a share on all of our social media platforms for these videos, clips, and other posts. Do us a favor and send us any of your questions, comments, or snide remarks to bootsandbackstrapspodcast@gmail.com. And TK, let's bring this plane in for a landing.
This is fun. I had so much fun, even though I'm whining and complaining. Jimmy, it's great having you here. And
it's great to see you.
folks, whether you're belting out your favorite country song or pursuing your favorite game animal, I encourage you to use that same enthusiasm to pursue the Lord. He will teach you to shoot straight. We look forward to seeing you next week. Come on now.
Hunt is on, looking for backstraps, way deep in the woods, tracking in a swamp to a hay field under the harvest moon. When the tags are filled, it's time to switch up our boots. Head down to the honky tonk, get us a swing dance or two. We're talking about boots and backstraps.